Goedenavond, welkom bij Spring Radio, het laatste uurtje live radio vanuit het Festivalhart van het Springfestival hier in de stad Schouwburg in Utrecht. Want het is helaas ook de laatste festivaldag, dus ja, dan stoppen wij ook. We blikken terug op het festival met artistiek directeur Rainer Hofman en hopelijk ook een beetje vooruit. Daarna praat ik uitgebreid met de Chinese kunstenaar Tianzhou Chen. Gisteren was in co-productie met Spring zijn extravagante voorstelling An Atypical Brain Damage te zien. En dat was een wervelend horrorsprookje vermengd met techno, met seks, stereotypes over Aziaten en Europeanen. Het kwam allemaal voorbij. Straks om 9 uur vindt die voorstelling nog een keer plaats. En als uitvloeisel van die voorstelling komt de House of Vineyard, het eerste en enige originele folkhuis in Nederland, de afterparty van dit festival verzorgen. Weet je nou niet precies wat voguing is? Blijf dan ook vooral luisteren, want aan het eind van de uitzending zit niemand minder dan Amber Vineyard hier in de uitzending. De godmother van de House of Vineyard. En zij legt uit hoe het werkt. En dan kun je gewoon meekomen doen hier straks om 9 uur. Maar zoals gezegd, eerst artistiek directeur van Spring, Rainer Hofman. Rainer, hoe kijk je terug op deze editie?
Hallo, ik kijk heel blij terug. Het was een supergoeie week, of 10 dagen vond ik. Bijna zo goed als het weer. Hot and bright and shining. Kijk. Dat zijn mooie woorden voor een festivaleditie. En dan puzzel je maanden op zo'n programma. Je verwacht van alles, maar zijn er ook nog grote verrassingen? Nou, het zijn dus spannende momenten. Je weet natuurlijk nooit hoe een voorstelling uitpakt als je ergens anders toont. In de ene stad kan het supergoed bevallen, aan de andere stad weer niet. En juist andersom. Of bij nieuwe producties weet je ook niet wat je krijgt. En ik ben met sommige co-producties die in première gegaan zijn super blij. Zoals met Genevieve Murphy. Een grote project van Dries Verhoeven op de Neude, wat behoorlijk voor ophef gezorgd heeft. Ja. Maar ook, ik vind een goede bevraging van onze maatschappij gedaan heeft. Een grote geste eigenlijk in een stedelijke ruimte. En een ontzettend groot aantal bezoekers daar. Dat was echt permanent een showroom bij een bouwput voor een nieuw monument. En de showroom was echt permanent bezocht 10 dagen lang. Ja, dat is super. Dus dat is boven verwachting. Dat is boven verwachting. En ook de voorstelling vanavond van Tianzhou Chen, An Atypical Brain Damage. Je hebt de première in Graz gezien. En dat is soms zo bij premières is nog shaky. Ja. En nu is het echt... super. Oké, dus hij is helemaal... Hij staat ook super goed op het podium in de Schuif met publiek bij op het podium. Heel mooie ruimte voor. Ja, ik ben er gisteren geweest. Ik ben het helemaal met je eens. We gaan het er ook zo over hebben, wat het voor bizar spektakel was. Ik vond het een geweldige editie. Ook bijzondere makers, frisse voorstellingen, inhoud, plezierig, heel intelligent. Ik ben heel enthousiast, maar kunnen we ook alvast vooruitkijken naar volgend jaar? Ik denk we kunnen vooral vooruitkijken naar Spring and Autumn. Onze kleine editie in november, die we samen met de stad Schouwburg doen. Er is bijvoorbeeld een voorstelling bij van Marta Gornicka uit Polen. Een grote koor, Hymn to Love. En het gaat eigenlijk over is een gechoreografeerde, sprekende, zingende koor over liefde en nationalisme. Wauw. Een cast van bijna 30 op het podium hier. Oké. Dan 2 nieuwe producties van Julian Hetzel maken het in Utrecht gevestigd is en Lotte Vandenberg. Ik ben heel blij met 2 hopelijk goede nieuwe Nederlandse producties. Dan nog Crowd van Giselle Vienne over zo'n jongeren op een schoolplein. Een super precies gechoreografeerde voorstellingen die met timingverschuivingen werken. Een deel van de dansers in slow motion, ander danser in gewone tempo. En permanent wordt je focus van het publiek gewijzigd. Een super spannende voorstelling. En dat is allemaal... Dan nog één... Tuurlijk. Van een choreograaf uit Indonesië, Eko Suprianto, die vorig jaar bij ons was en die nu met een solo terugkomt. En dan nog een escape room in het foyer van de Schuif. Dus heel breed programma. Hoeveel dagen is het? Spring november, 3 dagen. 3 dagen in de herfst. Het klonk nog meer dan 5 dagen, maar het zijn 3 dagen. Ja, oké. Te gek. Ik ben erbij. Graag tot dan, zou ik zeggen. Ik denk, ik ben er ook bij hem. Heel goed. Leuk. Dankjewel. Dankjewel. Dan praat ik nu verder met mijn hoofdgast van vanavond, Tianzhou Chen. Tianzhou is a celebrated visual artist from Beijing who studied graphic design at Central St. Martin's in London and did a master's in fine art at the Chelsea College of Art and Design. He's also made 3 fashion shows and video installations and shows such as An Atypical Brain Damage that is seen here at Spring, and that is a crossover of performance, theater and clubbing. The audience enters a bizarre world of theater where it can walk around a center stage with a police car parked on it and several other stages on the edge of the room.
The show roughly follows the story of a woman who is mentally ill and commits a murder, interwoven with the story of two brothers from China who are visited by a wise old man in their dream that tell them how to be perfect contemporary artists. There's horror, there's humor, there's music, naked bodies, a bird giving a blowjob. It's a real spectacle. Tanzhou, welcome.
Hi, I'm Tianzhou from Beijing.
I know, I just introduced you.
Oh, okay, sorry, I missed that part.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, there's actually a correction, like the two twin brothers, they're from Vietnam.
They're from Vienna?
Yeah, Vietnam.
Okay. Vietnam,
they're from Hue City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just lower the microphone for you because I can see your face.
Okay, yeah.
It's like this. Okay, great. So I'd like to start with the story of the show. It was written by someone else, I have heard, but it was based on a Chinese folktale, right?
It's actually like I was inspired by this Chinese writer called Can Xue, but this is the whole story. We just actually made it up. It was just like the feeling was inspired me, like how she writing the story was kind of like it started with somewhere and leading to nowhere, and she was kind of like the Chinese. For me, her writing was kind of like between Kafka and William Burroughs, but in a countryside, like Chinese countryside version. So it's pretty absurdative, but also the real life in Chinese like countryside life is pretty absurdative. I mean, China is kind of absurdative country overall. Yeah.
Okay. So you took that story and you sort of mingled it with dancing, clubbing, karaoke, pop culture, all things that are recognizable to us as sort of global internet culture, I would say.
Yeah.
Is that also a way for you to show that, in fact, that is the environment you live in today and you are influenced by, rather than just some old ideas about China?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like our generation was like artists is way different with like the past. You know, we don't necessarily to do with the political or social situation of China, but we more working like internationally. Like, you know, we see everything from the internet or Instagram, Facebook. Of course, we have the great work to block all of them, but there is still a way to access. So, you know, like we use VPN to see all this, like whatever, you know, the culture influence me, and I was just trying to put all the things I was interested into my work. It doesn't matter like from which part of the world. Actually, when the two women doing the gabber dance, is very days from here actually. But I don't know we're gonna actually play here, but we already put the gabber kind of dance into the piece.
Yeah,
so it's really doing the hike and jump style, you know.
Yeah, I think the English word is jump style for it in gabber, exactly as you mentioned, typical. Not so sophisticated Dutch dance.
Yeah.
And you really like that?
Yeah, you really like it. Actually, I was really into this Gabber music, you know, like the hardcore techno kind of thing. And it's all this is actually from here in the 80s, 90s. So, yeah.
And how did you did you first hear of this music? Through internet also?
I have like a music label in China. I do monthly party in Shanghai and sometimes other city too, and it's kind of like exchange. I do a lot of performance in Europe, and I know a lot of musicians. And for my music label, I'm actually bring them to China to introduce the thing to Chinese people. You know, sometimes it's like it's more like underground alternative music. Yeah, I mean, we also have like DJ playing hardcore music and yeah, this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm actually just, you know, on my SoundCloud all the time and like digging into different type of like weird stuff.
Yeah, weird subcultures.
Yeah, kind of.
In an interview, you also mentioned that here in the West, we have a sort of stereotypical view of China. And we even project fantasies, maybe, of China and the way we perceive China. How would you describe those stereotypes?
No, it was just like, you know, every time I like a lot of the time I perform in the Europe, there were like interview or just audience ask me question about China. How do you see the political situation of China? What is the Great War, firewall about, you know? And like, you know, you block everything, and how you're gonna connection, how you gonna find the connection to rest of the world. And also like they're always saying like, oh, your work doesn't look like really Chinese artists, because they have like this stereotype of Chinese artists work should be, which is like, for me it was kind of like 80s, 90s kind of, you know, political like symbol work, you know, have these red and yellow color, very communist kind of stuff, and like have this like, you know, that kind of thing. That was mostly what they thought about like Chinese artists should be, or, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the frame that they wanted to put you in, or that they wanted to ask you from.
Yeah. All the time, like how do I feel, you know, all this kind of thing, and like they just sometimes they're trying to picture you into their like fascinating about Chinese art.
Yeah. And the other way around, because you also say that it may also work the other way around, that people in China look to the West in a certain way. How would you see that?
Yeah, I mean, like especially for our generation, I felt like the young people are really thirsty about different things right now, because they all kind of start like looking into what is like happening out of China, what is the interesting thing there. So when we just start with the party, doing the like underground party in China, there was like the crowds definitely smaller than right now. So actually growing bigger and bigger in Shanghai. So a lot of like kids start doing DJ and making their own music and doing performance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that is actually similar to what's happening here, or is it also sort of twisted view, fantasy maybe?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely have our fantasy to projecting on the Western, I think. Yeah.
And that would be in sort of the extreme character of parties, or
yeah, I mean, like especially like the I would see like the LGBT kind of thing was kind of, you know, like they were fascinated by what's going on in like Paris, Berlin, and they're, you know, dressing this way in the club in the China. That was never happened before, like even 10 years or like 5 years. It's like there's like this kind of people coming to party, but now we're like Syrian party. There's lots of like fashion kids, you know, wearing like vitamins, whatever, like, and like dress up, or sometimes just even drag, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you could say that there's a mutual influence there, and
yeah.
I think that it's also very true that a generation now is growing up all over the world that sees more or less the same images. As you mentioned, Instagram and YouTube. What do you think are the effects of such a global common ground?
I don't know, like one way I feel is really good, you know, like we sort of like connecting each other already. Like that's how I met my performer. We actually, like, most of them are internet friends, you know. You just met someone on internet and you share the similar style or aesthetic, and you feel like this person can be really good for your performer or who you're gonna collaborating with. So I just write them a chill message saying like, oh, do you want to be part of my performance? They say, yeah, I would love to. Or sometimes it's some like producer or artists or performers writing to me saying like, oh, I'm really like your work, and can I do something with you? So that's how it works. So it's really like connecting, but in a way like you also feel like the post-internet aesthetic is like everywhere. So people from like American, Europe, and China, they are kind of getting into similar kind of style, you know, like we all have this kind of post-internet sculpture in every show, and all this 3D rendering video, and both in the video art or in the visual for the music, you know.
So that could make it more like more of the same, I guess.
More or less, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
No, I'm just trying to, you know, like focusing on what I'm like or what I'm like really like. It doesn't matter. It is post internet or 3D rendering stuff. I can still use it. But I'm also looking at like some reference back into the past. You know, maybe like just more classic theater or or other kind of like even ceremony, ritual kind of, you know, thing in different religions or. So we're just trying to have other, like a lot of different inspiration from different areas. So I think, you know, then you can deal with your own thing. Yeah,
that's interesting. So actually your national roots are very important for adding something new to this common ground that you have.
I would say, yeah.
For every artist, not just for you, for any artist, I guess.
I don't know if this is like really necessary, like the national rules for every artist, but like, I mean, for me, it was just, yeah, I'm Buddhist, so it's like I was inspired by the like Buddhism culture as well as Hinduism, so I always deal with that. But there's also some artists who are just working with this Western theory of contemporary art or philosophy to producing their work, which is also cool.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't have to be the country that you come from. Can also be your specific interest or your specific background.
No, sometimes I feel like if you're like really dealing with like the Chinese culture, presenting to the Western world, it's actually like a trick. You know, like that's the part of it. Was just like it's really easy to do. You know, like and really easy to catch the eye of whatever, you know, that like you always like fascinated by another culture and other cultural elements. It's like that is why I feel like that's why like a lot of Western people have Chinese character tattoo on their body, but it just doesn't make any sense, you know. Like all this character doesn't have like meaning, you know.
Yeah, so it's just a pseudo form of meaning. Just on the outside. So it can be really a trick to deal with those cultural differences. You can present it as a trick and it's easy.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes actually you can't avoid that could be actually a strategy. You know, if you do a fashion collection, you know, there's like a lot of Chinese text writing on it. You know, then all the people saying, "Oh, it's so beautiful," you know.
And you don't want to deal with that or not on that level.
Sometimes I deal with that. You know, like there isn't like not like right or wrong to do it. Just like how you do it and how you just, you know, present it in a interesting way rather than a cliche way.
Yeah. How did you try to do that in this show?
Actually, like I personally don't really like the work to do with a lot of like communist political idea, but we still have that part in the Vietnamese brothers talking, because actually they're talking kind of their real life. So I just, you know, brought them from Hue City. They actually artists. What they're doing in the work is kind of like political, kind of like work back into the like, you know, the communist kind of their Vietnam War and a communist ideology. And that was exactly the thing, you know, like a lot of Western people know about Asian art. So I just put them into it. So I just like have both sides, you know, you know, it's just play with the boundary of what is like Chinese, kind of what is Asian art, what is not Asian art. And I would just, you know, put something look like a Asian art into it. Yeah,
and I absolutely fell for it because I just meant to call them Chinese instead of Vietnamese. So you tricked me. Yeah. I'm busted. Do you think this common ground that's derived from the internet has made us feel less Chinese, Dutch, English, and more globalized?
Yeah, maybe. I think they're just like, I was just trying to put all my interest in my own interest into my work. So it's really subjective. It's really me. So I mean, in terms of that, it could be like really universal. You know, even your own taste is like focusing on even like really small area, but you still have like people like sharing the same kind of background or interest, like with you, like even like just club or just Geiber, kind of this kind of music, or at the end this is the zombie barcamp techno. You know, that was all my thing, and people would sometimes just feel it. Yeah.
There are also logos of big brands: Chanel, Apple, Facebook. Why are those in?
No, it's I mean, I always deal with a like symbolic thing in my work. Sometimes it's just like even Buddhist or religious symbol. Like even the bird and the snake was a kind of symbol too. They are like the snake was a kind of symbol in every religion. It's in Christianity or in Hinduism, in Buddhism. You know, and also like the Apple logo was symbol too. You know, when you put all this like random symbol together, actually creating an inner narrative, even without seeing like this necessarily be there. But it's just, you know, when it just be there, it actually have already creating you feel the story. You know, there's a snake and there's an Apple logo. You know, like, you know, this. Yeah,
I see. So. In a way, you could say this is these are elements from contemporary society that work together even in the outside world.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
just
like,
transport them to the stage.
Yeah, I would just like, it's kind of like taking all these kind of like outside world, like even branding, logo as symbol, that creating some sort of like ceremony kind of thing. You know, when there's like a performance happening under Apple logo. You know, you know, it creating another kind of meaning out of it.
Yeah. You also once mentioned in an interview that a lot of elements of popular culture are similar to religion these days.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the club is kind of like a new church, right? You know, the people dancing there was like, it's almost ceremony-like. And also, I was really into, like, I think the performance is actually a desire to me. It was a desire to know what is human, what is really human about, you know, like when there is like everyone in the space, they're from different country, they have different color, they have very different clothes. Sometimes it's more fashion, sometimes it's like classic, whatever. And you feel like they're at the same space and they touching each other, they smelling each other, all this some sort of like physical connection. It creating like a ceremony to me.
Yeah, and a sense of belonging and sharing.
And the belonging,
the same ideals.
Yeah, also interesting in the boundary of everything. You know, like the boundary between peoples and boundary between what is like what is the commercial, what is like holy, and what is like different music boundary. Was it classic music? Was it like club music? You know, all these things together, like hip hop, electronic music. You know, like what is like, which is just like different music, but which is also sung all together, and like a different dance, like voguing or Geiber dance or Buto, you know, they just all about the body, you know, like what is the line between different kind of category.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And that's why you wanted to fuse them all together into one one show that has its own boundaries.
Yeah, something like that. I was just trying to understanding the boundary and trying to play with it. Yeah.
Would you say that things like popular culture, for example, I noticed that the two brothers from Vietnam were wearing a Justin Bieber sweater.
Yeah.
Is that also kind of religion?
A kind of a religion, and especially when they're crawling, you know, like, Justin, you know, like, they're telling whatever, like, their, like, life story, like, because that was from my interview to them, and what their idea about art and this kind of stuff, but their vision, Justin Bieber, you know, like tour suit, actually they had running all the city like Justin Bieber Vans too, and it's kind of ridiculous in a way, you know, like and all these kind of tour cities sometimes it's really like developing countries, not even like all this New York and Berlin, which is like a lot of really strange cities, you know. It's feel like, you know, these two brother artists from like Hui City, and they're like, you know, touring with Justin Bieber, you know, traveling with yeah.
But would you say that that is also an ironic commentary on?
Yeah, I mean, like it's so feel like that, you know, the global lies, whatever, the pop culture, like really, you know, everywhere, and even it like, and when you putting that thing compare with the artwork and the art, like the communist artwork they're talking about, is creating some ironic meaning too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You were also, as you mentioned, a Buddhist yourself. How do you draw inspiration from that for your work?
It's just mainly like the idea, like not really, you know, necessarily a Buddhist image, but it's just the idea about like living, how what is like meaning of living and the death, you know, what is the thing in between? Was it like the death was like really the end, or because that's why I use the twins, because there's like in the Tibetan Buddhist, there's like an image, there's like two like skeleton, you know, holding hand, like kind of like each other.
Okay.
They're representing, you know, the side of life. So I mean the twins is kind of doing the same way. They are performing like the same person, or they are like one living husband or one dead husband. Are they all together, or what is like which one is living, which one is the dead? You know.
Ah, okay.
So they're.
So it's on the level of symbols that you.
Yeah, on the level of symbols. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that when you're religious in any way, that you look at pop culture, as we mentioned, that it's very empty. And club culture in the same way, I guess, because you see these signs. There's a sense of belonging. There's togetherness, but in the end, it's not, I guess, fundamentally valuable for you in the way that the ancient religions are.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say they all find like really important, equally mean something to me. I mean, because like part of mine was like I'm like really Buddhist, and I'm like I have all this like Buddhist reading and idea in my mind, and the other way I'm still like living in this like moral world. You know, I have a lot of desire. I like party, and you know, I always go party, and I have like I like fashion, you know, I like all these like, you know, nice looking clothes, which is all that shit was just against the Buddhist idea of living. Yeah. And I was just kind of like a human stuck in the middle. So a lot of that work coming from my anxiety, like knowing yourself, you know, like which is the more fundamental way to be alive, or what is more important for your life, and the other way you can't just resist all this kind of other thing. Yeah,
temptations.
So like this is like transition where it just like sometimes the two things were fighting together and creating some like anxiety. That was just my work about, and I hope that, you know, audience actually feel that kind of anxiety in themselves too.
Yeah, I can imagine. And which power do you think will take over in your life? Is it the Buddhist one, or the?
I don't know. I'm in the middle of the fighting, so I can't say which side are gonna be win.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And what role does art play in this?
Well,
you made a show now. What role does art play in this battle?
I don't know. I think that art is just the way out of, you know, all the emotions out of it. It's just through the art, because I don't know. Maybe like there's other way to make it, but just I don't know how to do it. But so art, it was just my way. You know, it doesn't matter what is a therapy, or what is it, was it club, or what is like just performance or anything. You know, that would just anything, or just fashion. You know, they just all like my thought of like expressing that feeling inside of me. Yeah.
And does it clarify anything once you've expressed that? Does it make things clearer?
Yeah, it made me satisfied, like, oh, okay, I did it. And like, this kind of like desire too, like you shouldn't be too, too much want to be like important artist or famous artist, whatever. That was kind of one of the things that was against kind of the Buddhist way of living, to have too much.
Have your ego.
Your ego is growing and you want so much, you know.
Yeah, so that's but that's a difficult loophole that you're in.
Yeah, true. It's actually the difficult loop like everyone was in, like, because the whole society was just about like pain and anxiety, and like you have all this shit come to you every day, and you have to deal with it, and this everyone was in the loop,
Yeah, everyone is. Yeah, exactly. In an interview, you also mentioned that your shows are breaking boundaries of self-expression. How would you say that ways of self-expression are missing these days?
I said that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't
it's on black and white. If you don't agree anymore, it's fine.
I just don't remember I said it, or were it from another interview, or just writing this way because how they feel about me.
No, I think it is a quote, but maybe from your previous shows, could that be? That were even more extravagant?
I think I was already talking about like, the boundary a little bit in the past like questions, but that was like, I was just interested into the boundary. But for me now, it's just not necessarily like break it, or just more like playing with it, more like naturally, feel it, and like I mean, like the self-expression topic, I mean, in China is still I don't know, just it wasn't as easy, the individual wasn't as easy as in any other country probably. But also I feel like, there's like a lot of rules, because my last performance in China was 2.5 years ago. It was way longer than it's like I perform in Europe, like I do way more performance here, but like I feel like right now I want to do the most place I want to do performance is in Beijing, is in my hometown, which is one of the most controlled place, because when there's like a lot of boundary you can play with. That was actually interesting, they still have rules, so they still have something that you can break.
Yeah, exactly.
But like here, you can basically do everything, and all the audience just take it, like everything is,
It's not fun.
It could be fun, because it's still different audience. You don't have that like more connection in my piece. Maybe sometimes, when we do the techno, like, like all the like people from like German, they really feel it, still something was the reaction is very interesting, even in different countries, even the whole Europe, a different city have like different reaction to the work.
Right.
So this is also interesting, Yeah,
I can imagine, but then again, if there are more boundaries in Beijing, then it's
it's more risky, but more, it's also like exciting, it's like your teacher like don't tell your like kids, someone tell you don't do it and you want to do it. That was the feeling, like the risk is also exciting,
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some important boundaries that you would like to push or break there?
I don't know. I think it's all of it, even like sometimes it's just between the body, the sexual is like kind of forbidden in China, like the topic, which is like knitting and whatever. It's just like in a way just like some like superficial level, but in terms of like living and death is kind of like a boundary. Was it actually a boundary, or is there nothing like in between at all? That was kind of like also my kind of Buddhist like thinking. Was it just, is it like beginning and the end, or is it all this kind of like clear, or it just nothing really existed, or just it's just a loop of time, or
right. And a show like this seen here with as I mentioned, a bird giving a blowjob or naked breasts, Would you want to show it there in the exactly same way?
Yeah, of course. Of course, if the piece is like that, if it is like necessary, I mean, it means something in the piece, or yeah, I definitely want to show that way. It's not like necessarily to be naked in performing in China, but if it is necessary to the piece. Right. I mean, if it is piece already like that, and which is means something in the piece, then I definitely want to show exactly the same. If you cut it, or just like it lose a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it would be really interesting to see the reactions there.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have any idea what would be thrown at your head?
In China?
Yeah.
It depends on where we do the performance and who come to it. Sometimes it come with the like older generation. They're like freaking out. They were like, "What the fuck is that?" And all these like younger generation really love it. I mean, like it's not like necessary about the age, but all my works is kind of like people either really love it or hate it. Even in here, it's the same.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what were the reactions that you got here?
So far, everyone come to me. They said they love it. Of course, if they don't love it, they don't come to you and say in the behind. Oh, that shit is so boring. What the fuck,
Yeah, no, that's.
But everyone come to me. Of course, they have like a positive reaction.
Yeah, and no one was angry at you.
What?
No one was angry or
no one was like
upset.
I guess not here. I feel like people here is really nice and polite. They don't say that in front of you.
And there was a talk afterwards yesterday after the show.
Yeah.
And there you could also pick up some reactions of the audience. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I never do a talk like that, and yeah, I mean, it's really a nice way to hear the audience first, and then you say something. But I especially like the talk with the student this afternoon. We have like a student talk, and it's really sweet and really warm. I feel, I think that was one of my best talk ever. Talking with the student here, it's like they're sharing, asking a lot of questions, and they are really warm, and they're really seeking the answer. Like they want to hear you sing, and you feel they're really seeking the answer for them, for their own art or own life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And you also make videos, shows like this, fashion. Do they have sort of common ground? Do they relate to each other in the same way?
Yeah, I think that's all my piece in a way. Like whatever it is, fashion or whatever it is performance. Where I actually reflect my fashion in my performance. We made all the costume and the makeup, and also like the music that I like was also reflecting in my performance. I like this like underground electronic music, so I have these fake playing there. That's one of my favorite DJ and producer. That, and I like hip hop. So in another piece of mine, I just like have like a hip hop producer from Paris. He was doing this like music for me. I felt like this everything was just part of my work. They don't have to be like fashion or fine art or theater. They just
So again, it's the definition of the boundaries that are blurry and somewhat non-existent maybe.
Yeah.
Tonight, after the show, there will also be some voguing and some clubbing. Yeah. And that's also in the show, of course. What do you like about that specifically?
I mean, probably the best part of the show is going to the party, like, because a lot of people after our show, they want to go to the party. So I think, it's definitely like the fest. All my performance should have after party.
And it's also in the show, so the party is already there. You could say.
Yeah. The party is already there because we already started. It's just like an ISA trip, you already own it, and you have to carry on till the end. Yeah, get wasted.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you, Chenzo. Very nice having you here. Thank you for answering our questions. So I believe there are still some tickets left for your show tonight at 9. People can still come in and visit, and I really recommend they do, because it's really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we end our show the same way the festival will end tonight, and it's with voguing. And with me here is the only official mother of a Vogue house, the House of Vineyard, Amber Ambiance Vineyard.
Hey.
There she is.
Hi.
Step to the stage, please.
All right.
Okay. So what is the essence of voguing, Amber?
Oh, the essence of voguing.
Yeah.
Voguing is an expression for me. So it's an expression, and it's a story, and it's the essence of voguing.
Yeah, we're
for
gonna
me,
ask
in
deep
the
questions
end,
here.
everything's about ballroom. So basically, when we vogue, it's like sticking your middle finger up to society and all its standards and bullshit.
Okay.
So yeah, when you vogue, it's like it's being completely true.
Okay,
to yourself and your
and
own
it's on a
expression.
stage, it's about dance, it's about performance.
What's on a stage? You
Voguing?
can vogue anywhere, baby. You can vogue right here
Wow, how does that work?
because it's your expression.
Okay,
So
so-
whatever you want to express, it's a dance as well.
Yeah.
So, but I also feel like people get confused with the dance form. Because for me, it's not a dance. It's really behavior and expression on beat,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
sure.
Yeah.
And self confidence is very important.
Extremely, extremely, because in the end, everything that society says that we're supposed to be, to many of us, that doesn't really fit my lifestyle and the things that I love and the way I'd like to express myself, or my kids would like to express themselves. So in that sense, it's a need. You need this.
Right. And what about the movements? I think you already mentioned it, but can it be anything? Or is there a specific choreography? Or
I think that depends on the style, because most people know voguing as a dance form.
Yeah.
And for me, again, like I said, it's behavior on the beat. But there's different, in a ball where you see voguing happening, you'll have many categories. So for example, one category would be like walking like a supermodel. Can you be a runway diva?
okay,
And it's not about how you look. It's not about looking like a supermodel. It's about embodying what a supermodel is. Because let's face it, certain body types, certain people can never be a supermodel because of the world we live in.
Right.
So can you be a supermodel? And then we perform this. In Vogue, the dance, we have the old way, the new way, and the Vogue Femme. So throughout from the 80s and onwards, you've had different styles. You've seen evolvement throughout the years. So you've seen there's the old way, you've seen the new way. Everybody knows the Madonna clip.
yeah, I guess that's the image of voguing that most people have.
Most people have this image, and that's actually the image that I'd like to change
Into what?
into what voguing actually is. And Madonna, what she did is she went into Harlem and she took these young children from a Black and Latino LGBT community and put them, on her stage. And she had this famous video, which the whole world now knows as Vogue. But when this song was over, the world thought that it was a phase. And actually, this is a community that's been in the dark for years, but nobody speaks about it. And yet, there's a white woman who's a big pop star. She brings it to the world, and that's what they think it comes from. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's a community that's been forgotten about, that's now getting a lot of hype and a lot of... I feel people are starting to see that it's not just Madonna. It's a whole community of people.
How did it start? We don't really have
I know,
a
right?
lot of time.
I know,
but
it's not, huh?
I don't want to keep the story from the audience. How did it start?
Well, basically, oppression. And, you have, of course, an LGBT community, but you also have oppression within that community. And let's face it, if you think about the 80s and our rights. And then you have, if you're Black and Latino, that was already one chop. And then if you're gay, it's a chop. So then you're speaking about a community who has so many chops against them. And they've had to find their own space, even within an LGBT community, because they weren't even allowed to participate with the white drag queens. So can you imagine, wow. So they had to go somewhere else and created and that's how they created their ballroom scene, the ballroom scene where they can create their own categories and participate and win trophies and express themselves freely on the floor.
And that's the essence.
And for me, that's the essence.
Yeah.
Yes.
How does it work with the Vogue houses? Because I announced you as the first and first official Vogue house in Holland.
Yes.
How does it work?
Well, if people have seen Paris is Burning, this is something I'd recommend maybe for people as a little bit of homework. Paris is Burning explains houses quite well, but
It's
every
a film?
house has a mother. Yes, it's a documentary about the ballroom community within New York, but every house has a mother. And basically, you know, these kids, especially in the 80s where this started, if parents found out their kids were gay, they'd get thrown out. They didn't want to be associated with this. So you have these homeless children on the streets, like young, and with no guidance, nothing. And these mothers took these kids in and made sure they went to school, made sure, you know, they were taken care of. And they created a family situation. So the children actually there's like this mother figure or a father figure, and they take care of each other and they compete together and they go to balls together and they walk balls together, and that's how you build your house name. And if you win a trophy, it's for your house. So my kids, for example, you know, my last name is Vineyard. By coincidence, it is my real last name. Yeah. And but my children, so you would have like a Gabby Vineyard. You would have Maxie Vineyard.
How many children do you have?
Vineyard. I have about 20.
Wow.
Yes. I look good, right?
And still look this good. It's amazing.
You have about 20. And then right now you have houses growing in the Netherlands. We have right now about 10 different houses at the moment. And at the ball, you can see them all participate and walk the categories. And it's a lot of amazing energy.
What are you going to do tonight for us?
Tonight, I'm bringing some of the essences of some of the performance styles that you would see at a ball. But because the atomic brain damage is so morbid, and I love, it's really a dream. And so for me, I want to, with the after party, my plan is like to carry on this dream-like atmosphere and turn the morbidness into something glamorous.
I see.
And sexy. So I just hope to bring people to let this acid trip that you're going to feel like you're in with this performance to continue into another kind of trip.
Okay, and we can all ourselves be part of it.
Everybody's going to be part of it, darling.
Okie-doke. I can't
Everybody's
wait.
going to be part of it. Yes.
Thank you so much for explaining it, Amber, and have a great performance tonight.
Thank you so much, Leo.
Thanks a lot.
Doei.
Dat was Spring Radio 2018, de samenwerking tussen Spring, het hedendaagse kunsttijdschrift Mr. Motley en mijzelf. Het was een eer en genoegen om het te maken. Alle 5 afleveringen kun je terugluisteren via springutrecht.nl en mrmotley.nl. En twijfel je nog over of je dit laatste staartje van het festival mee moet maken? Niet nodig, spring gewoon op je fiets nu, kom naar de slotavond van Spring. En zo niet, dan heel graag tot volgend jaar of in de herfst natuurlijk. Dank voor het kijken en luisteren.